Hello, my dearest friends. Welcome or welcome back to my channel, Diana and the Book Hunt. It's been a while. I know. I'm always promising on these videos that I'm going to get back into filming, but then something happens. You probably can hear it. I'm still kind of congested here, but I've been a bit sick. So I haven't been posting anywhere, anything, but I'm trying to get back into it. I feel slightly better. So I just wanted to do a monthly wrap up for the first time since the beginning of summer. I'm going to talk about all the books that I managed to read in the month of September because I did have some interesting reads on here. And I have been dealing with a reading slump as well. I've mentioned it in previous videos as well. But I'm trying to get back into it. And I think I've been successful in the past 2 weeks to kind of get back into feeling motivated to pick up new stories. So I've read a couple of interesting books that I want to discuss here. I have mentioned a few of those in one of my recent videos where I was talking about new releases, but there's also some that I don't think I've mentioned on there as well. So I'm going to go into a bit more depth as well here. I'm going to tell you about the synopsises of these books as well as my thoughts, obviously. So let's get cracking here. I read 9 books in the month of September, which is a bit of a low count for me, but that's okay. I'm dealing with the slump, so I'm not going to be mad at myself. I'm so proud with what I read, and there were, I think, 2 books that were quite on the longer side, so I'm giving myself a pass here. So the first book I'm going to talk about is a rom-com, a book that just popped up on my Storytel. I love the cover and it sounded interesting, so I was like, I'm gonna pick it up. And the first 50% of the book really won me over, but then the later part kind of sizzled down. That's why I gave this book 3 stars. The book is called Hot for Hostage by Maggie Evans. And the book centers on a heroine who, she's a student and she is also volunteering at this animal shelter, and she has fallen in love with a German Shepherd in the shelter. She kind of considers it her dog. And one day, this gang of unruly teenagers kidnaps the German Shepherd, and she's completely pissed off and out of it. And she's like, I need to do something to get my dog back. So she gets advice from someone at the shelter to contact the son of the local mobster. And she kind of has a chance encounter with this guy in this ice cream shop. And she decides to kidnap him to get him to do something about this German Shepherd being kidnapped. So it's a fun premise at the start of the book. Like, the scene where she kidnaps him is so much fun. I was laughing out loud in that scene, to be quite honest. And there are certain parts within this book where it's just written in such a fun, like, rom-com type of way that you can't kind of not appreciate it. But at the same time, as the story progressed, the kind of backdrop kind of got a bit, diluted and a bit ludicrous at parts. So it just wasn't a 4 or 5 star read for me. It was a very enjoyable 3-star read. So if you're in the market for that kind of a book, definitely pick this book up. It might definitely turn out to be a fun read for you too. Now, the next book, it pains me to say, I did not enjoy as much as I'd wanted to, because the first book that I read by this author was her debut last year. That one was Love and Other Conspiracies by Mallory Marlowe. And the audiobook for that one was just splendidly done. I really loved that book. And when I saw that she's coming out with a second book that is kind of with the same kind of theme, let me put it like that, I was really, really looking forward to it. And the cover for it is gorgeous as well. So I had high hopes for this one, but unfortunately it fell a bit flat for me. And the thing is, this book centers on an influencer, and I typically don't love books that center on a heroine who is an influencer. I don't know what it is. I have nothing against influencers in my life. Like, I follow quite a few of them, but whenever we have an influencer as a heroine, they're typically portrayed in a certain way where people have some kind of stereotypes or some kind of prejudices against them, and they're trying to prove that they're not dumb and that they, are not spoiled or whatever, and or sometimes they are spoiled, and it just doesn't work for me typically. Now, to be fair, in this book, the heroine really is so much fun. She is the fun character within this book. I really loved her character, and she does such a good job of kind of sticking up for herself when it comes to the job that she has chosen to do. But then, I don't know, just the hero maybe didn't work for me, or maybe the chemistry between the two of them didn't really work for me. The premise of the book is that she's an influencer. She goes somewhere up in the mountains to film herself for some kind of a brand deal or whatever. And while she's filming, she captures something on footage that looks like something extraterrestrial. And she was doing this video live, so it went viral. And then the guy that we have, so our hero, he is part of this agency that is kind of this Men in Black kind of agency, which I did love this concept within the book, where they're trying to find out what exactly did you film, and is it some kind of a dangerous finding that people shouldn't actually pay attention to. So he starts to look for her and to figure out, like, what am I supposed to do with this footage, and can she take it down? And then she starts to convince him that it wasn't in her head and she wants to show it to him. So they go on this quest together, and it's a fun kind of a premise, but there were certain parts within the book that just didn't flow well for me, were kind of stagnant, and also the romance was not my favorite within this book. I gave this book 3 stars. I definitely will pick up more books by this author, because the first one I really loved, the premise of this one I loved, and I know that there's more there. I just want to see it in another story, and I know that she can win me over again. Now, the next book is one of those chunky books that I mentioned. I think it's like 650 or 70 pages or something like that. It's called The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. And this is marketed as a dark academia fantasy book. But honestly, I didn't find it to be dark. It's just an academia fantasy book, in my opinion, where we've got our heroine Nima. She is this Raven Scholar who at the start of the book makes a very controversial kind of a decision that does put her into the Emperor's favor. She's kind of from like a nowhere background, while all of the other characters who are going to be central to the story, who are part of this academy, they're from prominent families, and they have a history with their certain kind of regions, and each of the regions has like this animal that is this kind of a familiar, if you will. And she's just kind of someone who is not part of this world, and everyone considers her to be an outsider, but then she gets selected to participate in this tournament that will determine who's going to be the next emperor. So this does definitely have the regular formula of a fantasy book that has an academy setting with a tournament with these trials going on. So if you like this kind of a story, you definitely might want to consider to pick this book up, because it does have amazing elements to it within the fantasy world building, as well as the magic within it. But then there are certain parts that were a bit slow for me. Like I mentioned, this is quite a longish book, but I did feel in the end that the payoff was good. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the first book within a trilogy that is going to continue on, and I will definitely consider picking up the second book. I gave this one 4 stars. And it's one that I haven't really heard very many people talk about. I only saw Bookstagrammer that I follow hype this one up a couple of weeks ago, but no one really since has picked it up, which is kind of weird, because whenever we have spooky season arising, everyone is looking for dark academia books. But yeah, if you're in the mood for like an atmospheric read that is part of spooky season, although this is not a spooky book, but it just has the elements of a high fantasy, kind of an academia setting kind of a book, you might want to pick this one up. Now, the next book I picked up because I really have been looking forward to any kind of books that this author has been releasing in the past year or so, because I really enjoy her writing style. The book is called The Entanglement of Rival Wizards by Sarah Rash. I don't know what it is with this author, but within like a year's time, she has released like 4 books, I think, which props to her. And this one I really liked as well. Like all the others I've given 4.5 stars. This one I also gave 4 stars, and I think is very fitting for the fall season. This one is an enemies to lovers romance, where we've got a fantasy setting, we've got an academic setting as well, because both of these characters are part of this. They're part of this, I don't know what it's called, like a scientific fantasy graduate program, where they're going to be working on certain projects that they need funding for. So they need to get some kind of like a financial backing. And one of the characters is quite rich, the other one isn't. So there is kind of a resentment between them, and also some pranks that are going on at the start of the book. So there's definitely this rivals or enemies to lovers aspect to it. But then little do they know that they need to start working together to bring about this project that they each thought that they'd individually work on. So they need to get to work together without killing each other in the process. But obviously they catch feelings instead of really starting on fighting together. So I really, really love the sense of humor of this author. I love the fantasy worlds that she builds. I love the way that there is banter, but there is also emotional depth to the characters. So I really, really enjoyed this one, and I would definitely recommend it. I give it 4 stars. Now for the next one, I'm honestly a bit torn about what to think about this story. There are certain parts of it that I really enjoyed, but there are certain parts of it that I cannot kind of take myself out of the equation of what I'm about to tell you. The book is called If Not For My Baby by Kate Golden. Now, this book I noticed a couple of months ago when I was looking at anticipated releases of 2025, and I saw the cover and I was like, ooh, I love this. I definitely am putting this in my TBR. And then when the audio dropped, I was like, I'm going to pick this up. But then as I was reading along, there were certain parts that were kind of cringy. Like the writing is really good within this book, but there were certain parts that were kind of feeling a bit cringy to me. And I was like, let me look up Goodreads to see what other people are thinking about this book. And that is when I saw that this is a Hosier fanfic. And Hosier is a living singer. Like, in my opinion, or not my opinion, but my impression of fanfics is that we typically do fanfics for fictional characters or for people who may no longer be with us or something. I don't know how to express myself, but like living people is just kind of a bit weird to me, because it seems like we're fetishizing them, which is a bit cringy, weird. Anyway, I was like, okay, I'm not going to think about this part of this book. I'm just going to focus on the plot and the chemistry between the characters and the feelings that it evokes and everything. And there are certain parts of the book that are really, really good. But then there are certain parts, because this is a musician romance, like a rock star romance, obviously Hosier. So we've got a heroine who is in this small town. She's taking care of her mom because she has Alzheimer's, and she desperately wants actually to be living her dream. She wants to be in like a Broadway setting. She's a singer. She definitely wants to be in theater and just do her thing. But then the reality of life is that she needs to take care of her mom. So she doesn't have any opportunity or financial stability to be able to do that. So when the opportunity arises for her to be this backing singer for this hugely popular soulful kind of a solo artist, she cannot say no, because it's a financial kind of a boost for her, but also it brings her into the type of work that she wants to be doing. So this is where they meet, because he's the singer, she's the backing singer, and their story progresses from there. And there are, again, certain parts within the story that I found utterly romantic, but there are also parts of the story that I found utterly cringy. So I was really torn with how to rate this book. I give it 4 stars on Goodreads, but it's more so like a 3.5-star read. And I don't know if I would recommend it. Honestly, rockstar romances are not for everyone. I know that not a lot of people love them. So if you love one, maybe consider picking this up. But if you don't, steer away. Oh boy, I have to say that I'm struggling with this video because I'm starting to cough, but I'm going to try to push through because I've got about 3 or 4 books to discuss, and I really want to wrap it up so I can give you all my thoughts on all these books. The next book I'm going to talk about is Bourbon and Proof. It's the last book within the series written by Victoria Wilder that I have been loving. This series has been such a fun and such a kind of almost like a nostalgic kind of a read for me. I don't know why. It's contemporary, but it feels nostalgic to me. And this couple has been one that I've just been dying to see their story, their love story. We've got Hadley and Ace, and we've got a story with a lot of different facets within it. So we've got Ace's backstory as to why he feels like he cannot be with Hadley. We've got Hadley's problems with her family. We've got Hadley's business. We've got Ace's business. We've got the family dynamics that are thrown into the mix. And there is a lot of suspense also within this book, like with the other books within the series. And I've just been loving everything about it, like the found family aspect, the romance, the spice, everything within these books is just like crack to me. So this is no wonder that it's a 5-star read for me. Now, the next book is not a romance, but I'm going to give you a bit of a backstory. So when I didn't used to have this booktube channel, before I was really an avid reader, there were certain books that really got me back into reading. And one of them was the Robert Langdon series by Dan Brown. So Angels and Demons and the Da Vinci Code and all those kind of mystery, thriller, adventure kind of books. I really love them. And when I heard last year that the new, I think, 6th book within this series is coming out, I definitely want to get my hands on it. So I'm very happy that I got to read the audiobook for this one. It's called The Secret of Secrets. It's another book that has Robert Langdon, the main hero within this series, get into a mystery, kind of an adventure. He is a professor of symbology. If you haven't read these books, I think everyone has read them. But anyway, if you don't know, if you're not familiar with this plotline, there is this professor of symbology who typically gets into these very adventure-filled but also danger-filled situations. They're usually in different cities in the world, and there's this quest that he needs to get on, and there's like almost like puzzles that he needs to solve to get out of certain situations. And this one is no different. He is in Prague for a lecture of his girlfriends, and certain things start to happen already from like the very start of the book. There's something going on, and the bad guy within this book is very kind of an ominous kind of a presence already from the start of the book, and you think you know who it is, but it's actually not who you think it is. So it's very much a mystery, and I typically enjoy these stories. And for me this time over, though, I do have to say that it was a bit predictable. And I expected a bit more because I know that this author has spent 8 years researching this book. I did like the premise that I don't want to go too much into because that's like the beautiful part within the book that you need to discover as a reader. Like the research that he did on that part of the book, I really, really did enjoy. But I just had slightly higher expectations for it, and I'm a bit disappointed by it. But I did really, really enjoy it in the end. So I've given it 3 to 3.5 stars. And yeah, if you love this series, do pick it up. If you don't, or if you've never read it, I wouldn't recommend it because it's like the 6th book. So it's better to start at the start because the first books are actually better. And then I'm sorry to say that I didn't love the next book because I've loved all other books by this author that I've read. It's the latest release by Hannah Bonham Young. It's called People Watching. And when I saw the cover and I saw that it releases in September, it's a very autumnal kind of a book, at least by the looks of it. And I would say that it's atmospheric for this time of year. So you might want to check it out if you are in the mood for this kind of a story. It's just one that personally didn't really work for me. The book centers on a heroine who is living in this small town. She very much loves her family, her mom and dad, and her mom is dealing with Alzheimer's or dementia. I'm not sure which of the two. And she has kind of put her life on hold to be able to take care of her together with her dad. And there's this new guy that comes into town because his brother has opened up a brewery and he wants to help them out because they have a lot of kids and one on the way. So he's there to help them out. And she's a virgin. He's a player, kind of a character. So this is the classic kind of lessons in seduction kind of a situation. And I don't know, it just felt like the hero was a bit insufferable for me. He felt like a very lust driven kind of a character. And then suddenly he was obsessed with the heroine. And the heroine felt a bit immature for a 24-year-old for me. Actually, both of them felt very immature for me. So maybe I was not the target audience for this book. I'm not sure. It just didn't really work for me. So I unfortunately gave this one 2 stars. I was contemplating DNFing it, but I just didn't want to do that. So I finished it and I gave it 2 stars. Now, fortunately, I'm going to sign off this wrap up with a win, with a 5-star read, one that I really highly enjoyed and one that will probably end up in my favorites of the year, to be quite honest, because there's just everything. It hit all the right spots and checked all the boxes for me. The book is called If It Makes You Happy by Julie Olivia. And this book, honestly, I didn't expect it to be a 5-star read. It did look really good on paper, but just as I was reading it, I was feeling like already from the 30% mark, this is going to be a 5-star read for me. First thing that really worked for me is it's set in the 90s. Now, I'm born in the 80s. I'm old, I know. I'm born in the 80s, so I grew up in the 90s, and this period of time is very dear to my heart. So whenever we have a romance that is set in that time period, I know it will work for me. Now, the next thing is the heroine is kind of a reluctant heroine, and she has a lot on her mind, and she has been hurt in the past, and she's just more reluctant, while the hero is so easygoing, and he is exactly the kind of hero that I absolutely love within a book, where he doesn't take no for an answer from her, and he kind of wants her to open up to life a bit. Even though he is someone who has like struggles of his own, he's a single dad to 2 girls. And the premise of the book is that she comes back to the small town where her parents are from to take care of the inn because something has happened within their family. And he is the baker who lives next door. So they have this neighborly kind of forced proximity situation going on. They have a lot of conversations together, and it feels very small towny, very autumnal. And just the setting of this book, the conversations that they have, the types of things that they deal with in their individual lives, but then they overcome them together, is just what worked for me. Everything worked for me within this book, and I absolutely loved it. Like the ending, like the third act conflict within the book, it just tore at my heartstrings. I really, really, really just wanted them to end up together, and I was like, oh, if they don't end up together, I'm gonna be like really pissed, and that kind of feeling. So yeah, this was a definite 5-star read, and I would definitely recommend it for this time of year. All right, dear friends, I survived filming this through all kinds of coughing fits. I'm going to try to record when I'm a bit better. But anyway, I don't want to bother you with too many TMI moments with my health update here, but I just wanted to let you know what I've been reading in the month of September. Please let me know if you've read any of these books, if you've loved them, if you hated them, if you want to pick them up if you haven't read them yet, and let me know what you've been reading as well. And I hope to see you in the next one. Have a wonderful, marvelous day. Happy reading. Take care, and bye-bye.